everyone from LowKick MMA. My name is Danny Podolsky, and I'm joined with Anthony El Toro Birchak. Set to return to MMA after 4 years out, he takes on fellow UFC vet Nick Aguirre at Baroka MMA on March 28th. Anthony, thank you so much for taking the time.
No problem, bro. Thanks for having me on.
First off, how are you doing today?
Good, man. I haven't done a fucking interview in like forever. You know what I mean? Like I've done like little local radio show podcasts and stuff like that, but I haven't done like an MMA one talked about myself in a while.
Yeah, well, I'm super glad to have you on. And, 4 years off, I mentioned to you right before we started this, I was very happily surprised to see that you got a fight booked. What's it like for you coming back after the long layoff?
One getting back in shape sucks. You know what I mean? I'll be 39 in May, and I say that, but at the same time, like I've been a coach at a high school wrestling program for the last 3 years, and like getting ready with some of the top kids in the state. All of my kids this year were ranked, 1, 2, or 3. Our whole wrestling team was ranked number 2 in the state all year long. So I had a lot of good youthful training partners that would push my gas tank and keep me, ready. But, just jumping back into the MMA, practice session number 1 at, 10 a.m., practice session number 2 at 12 p.m., rest through the day, session number 3 at 5:30, session number 4 at 6:30. And it's like, and every once in a while, squeeze in like a 5th cardio session at night and then just kind of sit in the sauna and stretch. But man, I haven't necessarily been completely, sitting on the couch. I've been doing ADCC Opens and a lot of these jiu-jitsu tournaments. So just getting my hands back, getting my timing back, sparring, working my kicks again. That's been fun part of the journey.
Yeah, I remember in 2022, after your fight with Morales fell through and you got injured, I remember you telling me, I think that was my last chance to fight in MMA. What kind of, A, did you think at certain points you weren't going to be able to fight again MMA? And B, at what point, sort of over the past few years, did you realize, like, I want to get back in there and I'm going to be able to take an MMA fight?
That Chimmy Morales fight, I thought I was done because my elbow was fucking completely shot. And even though I've been doing jiu-jitsu and I've been doing a lot of stuff, like my mobility and range in my arms is great. Like I have no ailments. One of the times that I'm like 100,000% healthy going into this, obviously I got like bumps and bruises from like kicking people's knees and like, taking elbows to the clavicle and stuff, but nothing serious, and like, I started thinking probably a couple years ago, like I showed up to sparring one day with a couple of my top guys. And I was like, holy shit, like I felt great. Like I'd probably do this again, and I promised myself that I would stay retired or not retired, just inactive. You know what I mean? I didn't retire. It was hard for me to find a fight, but I wanted to focus on my gym, focus on my business, focus on my wrestling team, focus on, being the best coach that I could be at that point and giving people the success or helping them reach the success that I reached.
Mhm. Well, first of all, I'll knock on wood too, that no ailments come up before this fight.
Yeah.
Talk to me about this one specifically with Nick Aguirre. How did this fight with him come together, and how are you feeling about this matchup against him?
Yeah. So my Mercedes, my wife, she's been my manager forever. I had recently signed with ECB Sports Management, and like a year went by and we really didn't get anything concrete. And I was just like, you know what, dude, I'm going to retire. And I said, I'm just going to retire. Thanks for your help, and like 5, 6 months went by and Mercedes was just like, dude, I'm tired of seeing you fucking depressed. Like you got to do something, like wrestling doesn't scratch the itch for me. Jiu-jitsu doesn't scratch the itch for me. It's like, this is, I fucking crave conflict, so she ended up hitting up Baroka and was in Vegas, which is like my second home. And they came back and they said, yeah, we'd love to have him on. This is the opponent that we're looking for. Nick Aguirre, he's a southpaw, 0-2 in the UFC, but former UFC vet as well. I think he's 9-2. So his only losses are in the UFC against top competition, So when I watched this film, I saw, his style, and he reminds me of a younger me from like 2009 to 2012, where, I just knew how to wrestle my ass off and I had a couple submissions in my bag.
Mhm.
But as of 6 months ago, like he got in a fight with an older guy, and that older guy was fucking boxing his ass up, and you know he threw a kick, and then Nick just shot real quick and got a takedown and a rear naked choke. But I think stylistically, this is probably the best, you know, age versus skill kind of situation.
Mhm. And I got to ask about, your wife Mercedes. Obviously, you two are very much entrenched in your, combat sports careers together. I know she does jujitsu as well. I did not realize that she was your agent. But hearing that, hearing from you that she was, as you said, sick of seeing you depressed and wanting to see that, it's just talking about the support you get from her and just how much that motivates you. Having someone like that, just not only in your corner, but in your life, just pushing you through this career.
Dude, there's so many times where I'm just like, I want to be done. And she's like, nope, you ain't done. You
Mhm.
got a lot of fucking miles on you, dude. And so, like, there's times like, like, lady, I just want to sit down. You know what I mean? And like, she saw me what it looks like when I sit down and I'm drinking, you know, 6 pack a night, a 12 pack, a weekend, and smacking a bottle of wine a night, getting fat, not training. And she's just like, this isn't the version of you that I fell in love with. Like, you getting fat and you being, just a fucking couch potato isn't the guy. So I've always been one of those guys that lead by from the front, and I've always talked about like the kings of old who would sit on top of the hill and watch their whole army go to battle in the valley below. I don't want to be that king. I want to be the king that fucking rides the horse into battle with my guys. So trying to teach these kids how to wrestle and wrestle at a high level and be a high level athlete. I tell them, you got to get up at 5 in the morning. You got to be running at lunch. You got to be doing this in the afternoon. You got to be running when you get home. And they're like, cool, let's see you do it. And I'm like, motherfuckers, I'm 39. Like, I already did my 5 a.m.s. I've already done all of this that I'm asking you to do. I'll never ask you guys to do something that I haven't done 1,000 times already. And they're like, yeah, but we want to see you do it. Let's see. And I go, fuck, all right. So these kids have been, a big part of my inspiration. Like just watching some of my freshman boys compete at state, they're ranked top 5 and they lose in the second round. And then I have to watch them battle back in the consolation rounds all the way back to third place. I saw one of my kids, my 106 pounder, just battled all the way back. And I was like, fuck, man. That kid gave so much heart and effort in everything he did to come back and take third. I think I got one more in me to do that. So it's been, a lot of inspiration from outside sources. And actually, the people that I'm trying to lead and grow are turning back around and wanting to see me continue to succeed.
Mhm. Yeah, and going off that, you're a gym owner at Toro Tech MMA in Tucson, Arizona, train at 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu in Tucson, Arizona. Talk to me about over, this past 4 years, kind of transitioning a little bit from fighting to now coaching. Mentioned being a college wrestling coach, seeing your kids compete. How much, just talk to me about that experience and also just how much that continues to inspire you.
I mean, I continue to learn when I teach, right? Like I forget shit that like from 2 decades ago that, my uncle who was my wrestling coach taught me. It comes back up and I'm like, oh shit, I got to tighten that up. I got to get back to doing that, so there's that aspect of it. There's, when I really focused on like, okay, I'm probably done fighting. I need to be a coach. My business was failing. My MMA career wasn't doing great because I was giving half-assed effort in both realms, right? And I was getting half-assed results and even lower than in both realms. So I said, you know what? I was a decent competitor, top guy in the world at one point. I can show how to do that, and I can show them the formula and how to replicate what I did. And for those that rise to the occasion that want to take those steps, they're gonna be great. And only less than a handful have done that. I still have not produced a UFC fighter out of my gym, and having it over the last 8 years, that's something that I strive to do. Like the fucking coaches warm-ups are so dope. Like I don't get any cool Venom shit anymore. So like I need to put somebody out there so that I can be a cornerman and get good again in that Venom shit, So My goal right now is state champion boy. I've had 2 state champion girls. So I need a state champion boy. I have one of my girls from last year who's ranked number 1 in the nation in the NCAA college wrestling conference. So a national champion, then a national champion boy, and then finally I want to get somebody back to the UFC out of my gym, out of Tucson, Arizona.
Yeah, and let me give you the opportunity to shout anyone out, whether it's, any of the fighters or wrestlers you train. Is there anyone from your gym who you're like, even if they're still in the AMI scene, anyone from your gym who you're like, this is someone fans should know about. This is a fighter who's could be in the UFC soon.
Yeah, bro. The guy that's fighting the day after me. So I fight March 28th. He's fighting March 29th in El Paso. His name is Andrew Lay, L-E, so like Kung Lay. He is an absolute animal. Does everything we tell him to do twice. He's just an absolute savage. Wrestling, jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai. He can do it all seamlessly. Like if you said, hey, we're just going to put you in a Muay Thai fight, he would look like a Muay Thai fighter. If you said, hey, we're going to put you in a wrestling match, he would look like a wrestler. Said, hey, we're going to go to ADCC, he would look like a jiu-jitsu black belt. The problem with him is he's a software engineer at Raytheon. Mm-hmm. So he doesn't need to fight. Mm-hmm. He just does it. You know what I mean? And there's 2 edges of that sword of like, I don't need to fight, so I can just fight freely and have this, right? But then you take a kid that has no future or anything going for him, and he's like, all my eggs are in this fighting basket. Like, I need to do this. So I'm really concerned about like how in later down the road, his mental development will go. But I think he absolutely has what it takes, and the fans would definitely, flock to him because he's such a dude. He's so reserved, and then as soon as the fucking cage door closes, he's this guy that you've never met before, and he's like screaming, like licking blood off his gloves, and like, who the fuck is this guy? Guy works for Raytheon? Are you kidding me? Yeah. So he's barely an amateur. He's like 3-0 right now. He'll be 4-0 that this next fight coming up, and then hopefully we can put him into the pro circuit and get him, 6-7-0 real quick, and maybe into the Dana White Contender Series.
God, well, Andrew Lay, certainly a name for, one of the guys in the amateur scene for fans to keep an eye on.
Yeah, Andrew, your greatest Lay.
And that's a good nickname. That's a good nickname there too. And let me ask you too, just the final question on sort of your gym. The fact that over the last 4 years since you fought, you've still been very much around the game. You're always at the gym, whether it's coaching, training, whatever it is. How much do you think that's sort of helped you sort of stay in shape to the point where when this opportunity came up, you were able to say, yes, I need to take this fight?
Yeah, I mean, I'm constantly getting jiu-jitsu rounds, you know what I mean? Like, very rarely am I just coaching. I pack my bag and I go home, like I have some of my top guys. I had one of my top guys leave me, and it was a big wake-up call. And one of the complaints that he had was that I don't roll with any of the like purple, brown, and black belts anymore. Mm-hmm. I was like, that's not true. And then Mercedes was like, when's the last time you rolled? And I was like, 2-3 weeks ago. She's like, yeah, but you roll once every 2-3 weeks. You used to roll every night all the time. Mm-hmm. And he ended up coming back, and like that was the first person that I was like, hey, I'll roll with you every time now. And now, so like I break down practice, I put my no-gi gear on, and I go and I get rolls in, So keeping active through that, learning, playing a new game, like having to change my jiu-jitsu game over a long time, being a wrestle jiu-jitsu guy, trying to learn the guard game, really trying to master the rubber guard stuff and understand, what Eddie's, teaching about, being a danger from bottom and having a dangerous guard. That's why I don't worry. Like Nick Aguirre's top game is to take somebody down. Fucking cool, dude. You're going to take me where I want to go. I have way better jiu-jitsu than him. So no matter what, he hasn't wrestled at the level that I've wrestled at. He hasn't, he's not the level of black belt that I compete against at ADCC. I've only been submitted once in the last 4 years at ADC or 3 years at ADCC Opens, and it was by leg lock. You know what I mean? So it was by another 10th Planet kid. So, like when I'm thinking about what game do I need to bring to this fight, it's any of it. You know what I mean? Like any of my jujitsu, any of my wrestle jitsu. Cool. He wants to get to his game. He's got to take me down. Good luck. Cool. You take me down and you get lucky. Now you're fucked. You're in my guard.
Mhm.
Um, and like that's been a big crucial point is like no one was taking me down in my gym for a long time. And I had to raise the level of wrestling up. Now guys can take me down. But now it's like majority of my guys can't pass my guard. Majority of my guys are having trouble. And I'm like trying to get them there. You know what I mean? I have high level black belts, and just trying to change my game and constantly alter how I'm getting success out of it, or redefine what my level of success is in a situation and in a role.
Mhm. Yeah, and then just one thing that I love and I keep picking up on is just how much your wife keeps pushing you to keep fighting and train and all that. Correct me if I'm wrong on this. She's also a black belt, also trains in jiu-jitsu, right? Or and
Yeah,
competes.
she just received her black belt this year.
Oh, yes, sir.
I mean, I was always, everyone that kept asking her for a long time, like, when's he going to give you your black belt? And for the fear of nepotism, right? That nepotism of I'm just giving her her black belt because she's my wife. I'm harder on my family more than anybody. Like, I don't hold the same standards for everybody. So nobody knows, like, okay, he says, if I do this, I get my black belt. Like, sure, I'm going to say that. And I'm going to say you're going to get your black belt. Then I won't give it to you. You know what I mean? Because I want to see how you act. I
Mhm.
want to see if you said, if you throw a tantrum, that I said you were going to get your black belt after you accomplish this. I want to see how you act. And a big part of what I was missing in her game was wrestling. The way we met was, I mean, we met several different ways. We met when I was 12 and I was hitting on her when she was like 18. She's 6 years older than me.
Mhm.
And, but she ended up taking one of my classes at Apex Mixed Martial Arts. She thought it was like some bullshit medicine ball, kick the bag, punch kickboxing fitness class. And I was like, all right, wrestler, start jogging. She's like, wrestling? What? So like she made it like halfway through and she just walked away. And she never came back to wrestling. She ended up getting this job with me as the women's wrestling coach at Cienega High School with me. And it's forced her to change her game completely. She understands now the benefits of wrestling positioning for jiu-jitsu. Wrestling lets you dictate when and where the jiu-jitsu takes place. And to me, that was the last block clicking in for her as a grappler of understanding the takedown game, understanding the pressure game, how to constantly keep that wrestler pressure going forward. And that's what's really been the biggest difference in her. And when I noticed that after the first year of her coaching, I was like, okay, probably like another year of her dedicated to wrestling, and I'll give her a black belt. And she got it this year.
Well, congratulations to your wife, Mercedes. It's got to be a nice feeling getting to finally give your wife that black belt, even compared to any of your other fighters in the gym.
Yeah. I mean, dude, like the lineage is pure. You know what I mean? Like, the reason she's in my corner for this fight is she knows everything that I do. She knows exactly everything that I do. She's watched me train for the last, decade and a half. We've been together for 15 years now. And it's like, she knows where my head's at in the weight cut. She knows what I look like when I'm in the cage. She knows everything inside and out. And she's my third cornerman. Then the first black belt that I've ever handed out, my first black belt, Willie Otterfree's my grappling and wrestling coach, and then my boxing coach was going to be Ruben Bravo. So I have a good mixture of the homies, my wife, and tactical strategy with my boxing coach.
Yeah. And so transitioning back to your fight a little bit, it takes place in Nevada. Obviously, you train Tucson, Arizona. Now, Nick Aguirre's coming in from Chicago, Illinois. Do you think you're going to have a bit of a home field advantage here?
Bro, 10 Planet Vegas is my second home. Like those, you know what I mean? That's family.
Mhm.
Coach Casey, my mentor, my business partner, the guy that I got my black belt under, he's gonna be there. Um, I'm not having him in my corner this time because I'm not able to train with him as much as I'd like to for this camp. I can't leave the business, right? So I'm doing my camp at home with everything that got me successful to the UFC in the first place.
Mhm.
All of the training partners and all the coaches that I have here are what got me to the UFC.
Mhm.
So I'm going to try to tap back into that hometown well. You know what I mean? And Coach Casey will, he's going to bring the 10th Planet squad out of Vegas. My mother-in-law's there. My wife, Mercedes, is from Vegas. All of the people that we deal with, the nightclub industry, the DJs. Like I stay with this EDC DJ when I go out there, and it's nice chill house in Henderson. It's right between 10 Planet Vegas and Extreme Couture. My Extreme Couture family's gonna be there. Like this shit's gonna be lit, bro. It's gonna be really, really bad for Nick.
Mhm. And as you mentioned being 39, when you look at sort of your career where it's at, what are your long-term goals going forward in MMA? Could this be your last fight? And if not, do you want to sort of keep fighting throughout, over the next couple of years?
I have a dream of setting my gloves down in Japan, but I don't know if that'll be realized. Ensign Inoue said that Pancrase was interested in having me at 45. That'd be cool.
Mhm.
I want to see how this fight goes, how I feel. Maybe I'll get that final itch scratched and I'll just be like, hey, I'm done. You
Mhm.
know, I thought about leaving one glove in this cage and taking the other glove with me. I don't know, man. Like I said, my fucking soul craves conflict, dude. I love this fucking game.
Mhm.
Just my body won't do it anymore.
Mhm.
So we'll see how it holds up.
Yeah, I'll certainly. Hey, the one glove would be a little bit of a Tony Ferguson type moment right there. Uh,
Maybe.
and I know Japan too. Like you fought in Ryzen for a while, so I'd love to see you get that moment, if possible. Um, I do want to ask one question, and it goes back to 2017. You're in the booth for sort of a infamous moment on the Ryzen commentary team, Chris Cordero.
Oh
Um,
my fucking God.
and so let me just, kind of play it out. He mentions at that point that women don't age as well as men. We'll talk about Mia Yamamoto. Mentions Rina Kaboto was the main event because she was cute. And this is something that I saw after I'd interviewed you the first time on YouTube, and I was like, oh man, Anthony is just sitting there, just looking awkward and not knowing what to do, and this looks bad for Chris Cordero. I know it's been 8 years since that, but I did want to ask you just sort of your thoughts on all that shit.
Dude, so this whole thing, there was a 24-hour turnaround, right? They
Mhm.
flew me out Friday. No, they flew me out Saturday. The fight was on Sunday. They flew me back on Monday. I had gotten there to the studio and did the first like 14 fights by myself because Cordero's got held up at customs or something like that. Then he gets there, and I understand like I was the color commentary. He was like the main commentator, right? The voice. But I felt as me being able to hold up 14 fights by myself with each fighter profile paper in front of me being able to say, like, okay, I see this going this way. I thought I held my own by myself. You know what I mean? As soon as he came in, I thought we were going to have a good back and forth banter and like play. Man, he was not giving me anything to like go off of. And like, for fear of disrespecting any Japanese women, I wasn't about to, say shit about Miyu, who I consider a sister. And I wasn't about to say shit about Reina Kubota. You know what I mean? I don't know if you know this. Kid and Miyu went to school in Phoenix.
Hmm.
So she went to Corona del Sol and he went to Marcos de Niza. He was one of Arizona's first four-time state champions in wrestling. So like anytime I'm at the high school, I'll take a picture of the school and I'll send it to her. And like we ever since Ryzen, we've been super close. So like the couple of Ryzens that I already did, and I'd fought alongside her, and I met the family, and I've known the Yamamoto family and the Arizona lineage for a long time. I was just blown back by like what he was saying about her looking so damn. I mean, obviously she looks good. Like we have eyes, we can fucking see how good she looks. It just was so off-putting, and it took me back. And I didn't really. I stayed quiet because if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. And I just sat there and I was like, I'm gonna let this dude hang himself.
Yeah, well, certainly as someone myself who's done a lot of play-by-play the last few years, I can respect that you just kept your mouth shut. It is tough to be there when you have your play-by-play guy just kind of in a way get himself canceled just on live air like that.
Oh,
Uh,
easy, easy.
and
He just was not reading the room. and or the situation. I was trying to stay focused on the fight and like, okay, he's talking about how fine she is. I'm talking about, her getting caught in a rubber guard, situation with, Irene at that time. I believe that's who she fought. I think she fought Irene from Spain.
Mhm.
But yeah, dude, it was bad news.
Yeah. And sort of going off that, hey, for me, I'm actually just really happy I finally got your side of the story on that because I saw that clip, I think, after the first time we had done an interview. So it's just interesting for me to hear. And going off that, like, I know you coach a lot now, and you're getting back in this fight. Is MMA media and sort of play-by-play, is that something that you'd be interested in doing after the fight career is over?
100%. I've been trying to do commentary. I've been trying to do play by play. I've been trying to do, an analysis. I've been trying to thought about starting my own podcast and realizing how hard that is. I would love to just be the cage side commentator. I would love to be an announcer. I would love to be, online analysis. I would love to do that. Um, I feel I have a wealth of knowledge in multiple sports, more than the average bear. And I feel that I am pretty well versed in all techniques: judo, jiu-jitsu, boxing, kickboxing, Muay Thai, wrestling, obviously. So, I feel that going forward, if not being a promoter of my own, at least, getting my foot in the door through that way would be easiest. It's just so hard, man. Like Arizona doesn't really have more than one or two fight leagues. I don't get along with one of them, so that leaves me one. The frequency of shows that they have isn't too much. My homie in El Paso that started CFC asked me to come and do it. So I think that'll probably be my route to how that goes in building my resume. But I thought having Ryzen on my resume, I thought about having Rage in the Cage on my resume already. World Fighting Federation, which was a local Arizona show. Thought having two or three of those would have been a good way to kind of get, myself into that aspect, into that realm.
Yeah, and I do want to sort of hit on one point you mentioned promoting possibly. Are we gonna get El Toro MMA?
Yeah, so me and Mercedes have had bullpen submission series for a long time now. We were just about to start bullpen wrestling, and the next thing would obviously be bulls in a cage. It would be bullpen fight series. So if I can get, I'm trying to start a 501(c)(3) for this wrestling program, getting grants and donations. We're trying to do Toro Tech health and wellness for diabetes prevention. And there's a lot of grants out there for diabetes prevention. So with those grants, those will go to, assets of, buying mats, buying a cage, being a put on events, and having, these prevention and awareness things go through fully. So hopefully all of that leads up to us having, bullpen fight series.
All right, awesome. Well, Anthony, hey, it's great to see that you're back in the cage, and obviously outside of it, you're always within the fight game, whether it's coaching, media, promoting, whatever it may be. My final question for you, man: March 28th, Nick Aguirre, Anthony Birchak. Anthony, give me your official prediction.
I'm gonna finish him within the first two rounds. He's never been hit by somebody like me. He gets hit a lot. And I guarantee if I put my paws on him, he's gonna fucking sit down.
Awesome. Well, guys, El Toro is back in the octagon. He takes on Nick Aguirre at Baroka MMA on March 20th. Anthony, if there are any socials, gyms, whoever you want to shout out, the platform is yours.
Guys, follow AB Supercoach on Instagram. It's at AB Supercoach. That's me. That's my techniques page. That's where I break down and show all kinds of techniques from jiu-jitsu, wrestling, Muay Thai, MMA. I also got my Toro Tech Wrestling Club on Instagram. You get to follow my kids' journeys and how they're doing. Got a couple kids that are ranked in the nation right now. Keep up with them. You'll see them wrestling in college in the next 4 years. And then obviously follow me at A Birchak MMA. I have, I'm super interactive. You guys DM me, I'll DM back. I always try to be, a fan for the people, or sorry, a fighter for the people, and really interact with my fans. So if you guys do that, that's where you can find me.
Awesome. Anthony, thank you so much for taking the time. Best of luck in your fight.
Thank you, bro. Appreciate it.
Make sure to subscribe to the LowKick MMA YouTube channel for all the latest news, event previews, and interviews with some of the biggest stars in MMA.